All right, welcome everybody. We are so excited to have you joining us tonight for our last kindergarten session. Tonight is a question and answer with our building principals. Before we get started, just to run through a couple of logistics with you, since it is a question and answer session, we will be utilizing the question and answer feature on Zoom. So if you kind of hover down at the bottom of your screen, you will see a Q&A. You can click on that to submit your questions tonight. We have a couple of things that we are going to go through with you to kick off tonight's session. If you want to go ahead and start submitting your questions during our kickoff, you can go ahead and do that, and we will make sure that we get to them when we get to the question and answer portion. After we answer the questions that have been submitted, we will give you the opportunity to raise your hand and ask a question live tonight. Again, you can hover down at the bottom of your screen and you will see an option there that says raise hand, and you can raise your hand and we will unmute your microphone one at a time to answer your questions live tonight. One thing I want to remind you is that if you have any specific concerns about your child or your family, those get directed to myself, and my email's there on the bottom of the screen, or you can email your building principal directly, and their contact information is also in tonight's presentation. All right, I would like to take a moment and welcome your building principals who are with us tonight. We have Linda Pavlinac, Missy Alexander, Mary Brophy, Natalie Jimenez, Carrie Montgomery, Kevin Thomas, and Liz Gruber. You're going to hear from each of these folks tonight as they share with you some different things about preparing for the kindergarten experience in the fall. Again, we will also provide you their contact information at the end of tonight's presentation so that you can contact them directly with any specific questions that you have. All right, and we are going to turn it over to Kevin Thomas to talk to you a little bit about what to expect over this summer. Before he gets started, I want to remind you that you can put your questions in the question and answer using the question and answer button at the bottom of your screen throughout the beginning of the presentation, and we'll make sure that they get answered. So feel free to put those questions in while I turn it over to Kevin.
All right, good evening, everybody. I hope everybody had a great day. It's raining pretty hard here at my house, so hopefully you're staying dry. I am Kevin Thomas. I'm the principal at Shawnee, and I'm going to get things started here with a few things to expect over the summer coming up here. So the first thing on the list there is Home Access Center. That's the HAC for short, HAC. Basically, you're going to get some information sent to you about your child's classroom teacher, as well as transportation information. Those typically come mid to late summer, usually end of July, very early August, around there. You'll get that information. The transportation form has started to be passed out this week. Some buildings, you may have already received it, some have not, but that transportation form, if you haven't received it yet, will be coming soon. We do need every single person to fill that out for every child that you have in the early childhood setting. It is available also on the district website under the transportation link. Class placement information, again, that'll be given to you through that HAC letter that comes home. That information also a lot of times might be posted at the building, but that typically doesn't come out until that first week of August, mid to late summer. The last thing we want to do is send those things home too early and then have changes made and have to call you up and make adjustments on the fly. School messenger communication. If you haven't signed up for school messenger yet, please make sure you do so. A lot of you already have. It's been great to be able to communicate with you already. You can sign up for school messenger, the communication information regarding emails, text messages, district information, as well as building information on the Lakota website. There's a school messenger tab on there. And again, you get to type in your preference, whether you want emails to certain email addresses, phone calls, text messages, etc. And then finally, the kindergarten half-day option. For those of you who have chosen to take that half-day option instead of the full-day setting, if you have not been contacted yet, we've got some updated information on that. At the current time right now, we have 34 total students who have enrolled in the half-day setting. Ironically, 17 of which are currently at East feeder schools and 17 are at West feeder schools. So all half-day kindergarten is going to take place at Liberty Early Childhood, regardless of where you're zoned. You'll come back to your home school for first grade the following year. The East feeder schools, so we're talking about Wyandotte, Hopewell, and Liberty. Those are going to be in the morning, and that'll run from 9:10 to 11:55. While the West feeder schools, if you elected half-day kindergarten, will be in the afternoon, again at Liberty, and that'll run from 1:15 until 4 o'clock. So again, very general information. Happy to answer more questions. Your building principal can as well as we go forward with this. And I'm looking forward to a great session. Thanks for participating.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Linda Pavlinak, and I am the principal at Creekside Early Childhood School. So what I'm going to go over with you is the day in the life of your kindergartner that's going to be coming in the fall. So just some general things to share with you. First of all, our school day hours start from 9:05 and end at 4 o'clock. And the typical model for kindergarten, we have a workshop model, which will be reading, writing, phonics, and math. And there'll be a unit studies part of your child's day where they will also be getting science and social studies. Of course, all your children will get to have lunch with their peers. So please have your child know daily if they're buying or packing lunch. Monthly lunch menus can be found on the district website. And please practice opening up those packages with your little one. Opening up those milk cartons, opening up chip bags, all those things are very helpful for them to know how to do, because you can imagine in the cafeteria when you have over 100 to 200 students at one time in a big cafeteria, and we have lots of people there to help, but when the little ones can't open up their containers, it takes quite a lot of time to get to everyone. So if you can help us out with that, we would greatly appreciate it. Also, your child will have recess. All classes will have recess daily. And then also as part of their schedule for the week, every day the kids will participate in what we call UAs or specials. So your child will have one of these each day. They'll either have physical education, art, music, Wonder Lab, technology, or health and wellness. So it's a fabulous day for your child. It's very busy with lots of great, wonderful activities, and we are so looking forward to partnering with you and your child this school year. Thanks for coming tonight. Have a good evening.
Hi, I'm Mary Brophy, principal at Hopewell Early Childhood. Thanks again for joining us tonight. I'll be talking a little bit about the beginning of the school year. The beginning of the kindergarten school year is unique for our students. And actually the rest of the district is kind of following along, I think, in kind of gradually starting things off. But for our kindergarten students, the phase-in days or those early kindergarten readiness days will start off where just certain groups of children will come each day. So on the 19th will be students with last names A through H. On the 20th, I through P, and on the 23rd, Q through Z. What that allows us to do is to just bring in a few students at a time for them to get to know their teachers, to get to know the school environment, and work in just a little bit smaller of a setting where we can do assessments, and again, trying to get them oriented before putting an entire class together. We'll be taking a day following that time. So again, a third of the class will come each of those days. And then following that time, we will be going through and reviewing some data that the teachers would be collecting during that time. So they'll be doing some basic assessments. They'll be making some observations of the students and the peer interactions, and then making a final class placement decision that we will then, if there are any tweaks or changes that need to be made, your principal or assistant principal will reach out to you and follow up with that, and then have a final class placement before that start of school after the 25th, or on the 25th. Our first and second grade students will also be in the building. They start a little bit earlier than us. We give them a chance to kind of get in and get going before introducing our kindergartners into that situation. It will be really important for us, again, as Mrs. Pavlinak was just talking about the cafeteria, going through that smaller environment, giving the kiddos a chance to do that before everybody's there, figuring out how to get from the buses to the classroom or from their car rider situation to the classroom. We have lots of adults that help in those early days, making sure that the children are able to get safely about the building. And again, really important for us to make these shifts and changes in order to really get to know the students better so that we can have a great start to our school year, and that the teachers, the cohort of teachers that they'll be working with, get to know your students. So we're super excited about how we're starting our school year this year.
All right, so that brings us to our question and answer period. I'm going to unshare here so that I can reshare. Hang on 1 second. All right, so we are going to kick it off with tonight's question. And Missy Alexander is going to start us off on answering some of your questions about logistics. And while we're answering, feel free to continue to put questions into the question and answer function, and we'll continue to add them and answer them. So Missy.
Good evening. I am currently the principal at Heritage Early Childhood and will next year be the principal at Liberty Early Childhood as Mrs. Montgomery is retiring. So looking forward to that. Some of the logistic questions that you have: bus transportation will be available on the orientation days. Any day that we have school in session, busing will be provided for your child. Again, that kind of goes back to one of the questions that Mr. Thomas talked about at the beginning. Make sure that you fill out that transportation form. That is vital for us so that we know where your child is going at the end of their day. And so that, but yes, they will get busing on any day that we are in session. Communicating to the offices that your child is absent. Many of us, I think all of us, probably have attendance lines. So when you call, there's a button that you can push that will take you straight to report your child off. Or you can also talk to one of the secretaries. You can also send an email. All teachers, administrators, any employee in Lakota, they have an email address that is their first name dot last name at lakotaonline.com. So you can always reach someone that you need through email as well. Every school also has an email that is contact. So ours at Heritage is contact heritage at lakotaonline.com. Every school has that as well. So you can do contact Wyandotte, contact Liberty at lakotaonline.com, and that will get your message to the right people as well. Has busing to and from? No, that busing has not been determined. That will be one of the things that is decided in August. Not decided in August, but communicated in August. All bus and transportation information comes out around the beginning of August, prior to the start of the school year. Most of our K2 kids are provided transportation from daycares, whether it's a Lakota transportation, whether it's a van or a bus from Lakota, or there are several daycare providers that we have that provide their own through their daycare vans. So the majority of all K2 students will get transportation, whether it's from the daycare provider or Lakota transportation. And yes, the teachers do follow a specific curriculum. Every year at the beginning of the year, each grade level will host a curriculum night. Kindergarten does that as well. And the teachers then will go over the year's curriculum with families. They share things that they will be working on through the course of the year. And across the district, they don't plan together, but they are following the same curriculum. And so there's a lot of team collaboration within a building. And there is some across the district too, but the majority of it is they will plan with their colleagues within the building more than they would at another building, but it is a unified curriculum for all kindergartners. Kindergartners and field trips. So this year was a very different year, and each building I think probably does something a little different for their field trips. At Heritage, we have taken field trips with our all of our grade levels. This year, we were not able to do that. We did arrange some virtual field trips, but the kind of field trips that have happened in the past, I know some have gone to the zoo, some have gone to nature centers, some have gone to museums. And so it just depends on what they decide to use for that year, but it does align with the curriculum, the choices that they would make for a field trip. So we're hopeful that next year we might be able to do that again. But again, we're still waiting on what next year's regulations and guidelines will be. And then Wonder Lab is very similar to what our students in grades 3 through 6 have. It's called STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And we have just adapted it down to the kindergarten, first and second grade level. It's a lot of discovery. It's a lot of play, building, tinkering, and guided activities along those areas. I can't see if there's any more at the bottom. Hold on. Nope, that's it.
All right, thank you, Missy. We are going to have Natalie Jimenez talk to us about the beginning of the school year.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Natalie Jimenez. I am the assistant principal currently at Heritage. I'll be the principal next year. Welcome to our question and answers. So beginning of the year, will there be an opportunity to come in the school and meet the teacher or at least come see the classroom? Absolutely. All of our buildings offer an open house experience. This past school year, we offered that by having parents sign up using a sign up Genius or other tools to schedule a time to come in so that we could limit the number of families in the building at a time. But it gave a chance for parents and for students to see places in the building that they would frequent during the school year, such as the lunchroom, the office, the nurse's office, and of course, those much awaited kindergarten rooms. So as we get closer to the beginning of the school year, I just encourage you to keep an eye out from communication from your homeschool. We'll follow the current guidelines at that time to develop what that open house experience is going to look like for you and your family. The transition days, once again, are based off of your last name. So as we shared previously, if you have last name A through H, you would be coming on the 19th of August. If you have the last names I through P, it would be August 20th. And then last names Q through Z would be on the 23rd. Then there's no school on the 24th. And then on the 25th, all students would report that day to kindergarten. If we think our child may need some help with speech or articulation, when does that assessment take place? Without knowing you or your child's needs, I would encourage you to reach out to your building principal and let them know of the needs that your child has, and they'd be happy to walk you through our process and the next steps of getting your child what they need. And thank you, Christina, for that reminder. HAC, make sure you keep that letter in a safe spot. It has your child's ID on it and all the information that you need to access HAC.
Thank you, Natalie. And we have Liz Gruber is going to answer some of your questions about breakfast and lunch, which seems to be a very hot topic for our kindergartners. You're muted, Liz.
Thank you. Just noticed that. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. Breakfast and lunch, you are correct, Christina, is always a hot topic for our kindergarten friends because it's the first time they're eating, often away from families. So the first question, how exactly does breakfast work? Do all the kids go to cafeteria to eat breakfast? So I believe this is a fact that next year, all students will also be able to access breakfast and lunch free of charge. So yes, all students are able to have breakfast at school. They do, at least at our building, and I believe in all of our buildings, eat breakfast in the cafeteria. We have teachers who don't have homerooms in there to watch students and help them with what they need. Typically, breakfast is right when typically students will head into their classroom, report and let their teacher know that they're there, and then head to breakfast with their other friends in their class that are going to breakfast. So that typically happens. This year, we start letting our friends in at 9:05 and students would be at breakfast around 9:10 usually. I would say this, if you do not want your child to eat breakfast at school and they're coming home and telling you that they are, reach out to the teacher and let them know, because teachers, typically if a child says I need to go to breakfast or I want to go to breakfast, they're going to say okay. So if it's something that you don't, we have cases sometimes where parents find out they're eating a second breakfast at school even though they've eaten at home. But again, if a child says they're going to go to breakfast, the teacher will typically do that. So if you have concerns or you want to share something about breakfast with your child's teacher, please reach out to them via email and let them know. What time is lunch? Lunch spans for quite a while at our buildings in order to get everyone through. At Wyandotte, I can say our lunches are start at 11 this year and end at 2, ending the lunch at 2. So the last one starts at 1:30. It depends, the exact time of your child's lunch will be dependent upon our master schedule, which you'll receive once you meet the teacher and at the beginning of the school year. So you'll know the exact half-hour-ish window that your child will have for lunch once they're placed into a classroom. You'll get that information from their teacher. There are not restrictions on what you can send in. We do have, for our friends that have allergies, peanut allergies and other, we have special tables for them, and all of our hot lunches are peanut free. So friends that are eating at the peanut free table can eat with anyone who buys a hot lunch. So we would never want children to be eating alone. So we do have that. If your child brings a lunch with peanut butter or a lunch from home, then they are not allowed to eat at the peanut table or the allergy table unless they're a student with an allergy, so that because we can't control what comes in from home. So, but there aren't any restrictions on what you can send. Typically, we obviously, like anyone, request healthy-ish lunches. But other than that, there's not actual restrictions. Are there restrictions on what we can send? No, same question. So there's not. This question wasn't asked in here, but it's a question that usually comes up at the beginning of the year, speaking kind of restrictions. Our cafeterias all have snacks and different treats that are for sale that students can purchase. If there are ways to set those limits on what your child can purchase so that they're not buying multiple things during a day. Those are all things that you can find the question and answer to on our child nutrition website, or you can reach out to the building principal, but just know that there are ways to do that if your child's eating lunch and buying lunch at school. Any other ones come in about breakfast and lunch?
Nope, I think we're good. Thank you, Liz.
Yep.
All right, and Carrie Montgomery is going to help us answer some of our live questions that have just come in over the last couple of minutes. So Carrie, when is the last day to make a decision if parents want to switch from half day to full day or full day to half day?
We'd really love to have that answer sooner than later. And the reason is because it helps us balance classes and also know how many teachers we need for a half day or full day. So August 1st, I would say, would probably be the last day that we would value that information. Otherwise, we're having to make changes and we don't want to miss anybody moving from one building to another, especially in regards to half day.
Thanks, Carrie. Carrie, is there a kindergarten readiness assessment that's done in the summer? And does that assessment determine if a child is actually ready to start kindergarten?
In the past, we did do kindergarten assessments in the summer, but they were not a gateway into kindergarten. They were more of us gathering information to get the year started. We have figured out that we can do those assessments once the students come to school, and we feel like we get a truer picture because we have everybody there. So our kindergarten assessments will be done during those readiness days and the first couple of weeks of school to find out where your student is as a learner at the beginning of the school year.
Great. And Carrie, does transportation have a general email that you can send questions to, and how would you locate that email?
Well, the next screen has the transportation website on it. So once you have this PowerPoint to yourself, you'll be able to hit that website, and there is all kind of information about transportation. Again, the building is a good source for that information, but also, transportation is the number one to be able to help you with bus stops and different transportation needs.
Great. And is there a list of things that parents need to purchase before the kids come on the first day of kindergarten?
The Great School List. Yes, the Great School List will be out. Most likely that will come out in early August. This year it was very limited. Some of the things that you can start to look for that we know for sure that you will need to purchase would obviously be a backpack and a lunchbox. And that's always a joyous day in the day of a kindergartner to be able to go and purchase those. And hand sanitizer, headphones. So find headphones that your child likes to wear and feels comfortable wearing, because they will be using those from time to time at school. And there will be other items added to that list, but that's where we're at right now.
Great. And Carrie, this has actually been a really hot question that I've gotten quite a few emails from parents about, and I know we've talked about it on each of our sessions. When will parents actually get the login information for their hack account?
Yes, so the login information will come via the US mail in August. And then once you have that hack login information, on the day that we release classroom teacher names, you will be able to go into Home Access Center and see your child's teacher name. And that's where you'll find bus information and other great information. So like Natalie said, when you get that HAC letter, Home Access Center letter, you want to put that in a safe spot, start to make a folder for your student, whatever, refrigerator, whatever works for your family. But make sure that you keep that, because that ID is your child's ID the whole time that they are in Lakota. So they will have that 6-digit ID, and they will use that for different things throughout their time in Lakota.
Great. And Carrie, the transportation paper. So the transportation is actually a Google form. So first, let's talk about how do they access that form to fill out? And is there a paper copy? And if there is a paper copy, where should they send that information?
In the past, it has been a paper copy, and we decided to kind of jump into the 21st century and make it into a Google form this year. So building principals will be sending that out, and it's also available on the website under kindergarten, the kindergarten site within our Lakota website, as well as it'll be available on all the school websites. So that form will be filled out, and that will serve as a kind of as a change for using the paper form.
Great. And Carrie, can you talk a little bit about whether or not parents are able to come in and eat lunch with their child next year? I know this year we've not been allowed due to COVID. We haven't had any visitors allowed in our buildings. What does that look like for next year?
We're still awaiting information from the governor as well as the Butler County Health Department. So that one is still up in the air, but that will be probably in beginning school information for next year.
Great. And Carrie, can you talk about what specific assessments are done during those kindergarten readiness days?
Sure. During the kindergarten readiness days, we will be looking at CAP, which is concepts about print. So we'll be assessing what your child knows about a book. Do they know what the front of the book looks like, where the title of the book is, what a page looks like, what a word is, just kind of just seeing their book handling skills. We will also look at sounds and letter names, and we will also do some math assessments in the area of counting and just number recognition. We will also look at if your child can read any words. Now, again, I know some of you are probably thinking, wait a minute, my kid's not a reader. I thought that's what they learned in kindergarten, and they will. But we do have some students that come in as readers. And so we want to serve them as a kindergartner as well. So we'll be looking if they can read any words. We'll also look at if they can write their name. So just looking at some basic assessments to see where we start our instruction.
Great. And Carrie, I'm going to ask you these two questions kind of together because they're also in regards to those kindergarten readiness days. The first part of the question is, how likely is it that the child's teacher will change after those transition days? And also, with that change in those placements, is it in order to have well-rounded classrooms or to group kids with similar abilities? Can you kind of talk about the purpose of those readiness days and what changes could potentially come from them?
Certainly. In the past, when we did our kindergarten assessments during the summer, we didn't have everybody there. So we wanted to make sure that we could get the best data and the most recent data. So we moved it into those first couple of days of school. And during that time, we're going to be looking at balancing out classrooms. Also looking at, maybe we have two kids that don't mesh together, and we don't want to spend a year with that happening for those two students. So that could be a possibility why we might move some students. But again, very small percentage of movements. We are hoping we don't have any. We're hoping that we do a really good job beforehand with your parent input letters that you send to us, and you give us great information about your kids, because that's the hardest part about placing kindergartners, is that we don't know them yet. So we like to spend time, of course, getting to know them, but we also want to make sure that we're putting them in the best learning spot that we can.
Great, thanks, Carrie. We have a couple of questions about breakfast that are popping in. So first of all, can you clarify, there's a question about that free breakfast and lunch that Liz talked about. Is it free for everyone or only certain incomes and families?
Great question. In the past, it has been based on income, but due to COVID-19 and CARES money, the USDA has provided free breakfast and lunch for all of our students this year and for next year. So all students can get the regular lunch free and the regular breakfast free daily.
And if the kids choose to go to breakfast in the morning, what time do they need to be back in their homeroom, and how much time do they have to eat that breakfast?
This one, unfortunately, is kind of a building by building. But for the most part, I can speak to Liberty. We get the students off the buses a few minutes early if they're going to breakfast, so that they can get down there and get started. Breakfast is usually probably about a 15-minute process. But again, this is when students are coming in and getting settled. And obviously we don't want kids to miss instruction. So we're going to hold our instruction just for those few minutes while teachers get lunch counts organized and other things ready to go for the day. And then we get started.
Great. Thanks, Carrie, for answering all of those questions. At this time, we're going to take actually, I'm going to go through the next slides, and then we will open up the floor for you to ask some questions live tonight. So let's jump to our next slide here that provides you all of the contact information for your building principal. So you may want to grab your phone and take a picture of this slide. You will also have access to this slide presentation on the kindergarten registration site. So I'll give you just a minute to snap a picture if you want to grab a picture of it. All right, and then we will jump to the parent resource page. So again, once you have access to this presentation, you will have access to all of these parent resources when you click on them. So they're live links. So if you click on this live link here, it will take you to the kindergarten registration page, which is where you will see all of the kindergarten sessions recorded for you to go back and watch. We will leave those up all summer. So if you have a question and you want to go back and see, okay, so hang on one second. Some people are saying they're not seeing the change in slides. Carrie, can you see the parent resource page, or what page are you seeing?
No, I'm still on the question and answer page. Sorry.
Okay, let me pause this here. And let me try to reshare with you and see if that helps us bring us to where we need to be. Okay, Carrie, can you see the parent resource page now? All right, I'm going to jump back for you here and take you back to that page with the contact information and give you that chance to take a picture there if you want that picture. Again, this will be live for you on the district website as well. All right, and then we will jump to that parent resource page. So if you click here on kindergarten registration, it's going to take you to the kindergarten registration page. Carrie, are you seeing my change in page this time? Can you see the district site? Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so if you see here, it says Kindergarten Readiness Virtual Series. And if you scroll down, you've got all of the recordings of our previous sessions. And underneath those recordings, they will be linking the slide presentation so that you have access to the resources that we talked about. That'll be up all summer if you want to go back and take a look at that. Our transportation page, many of you had questions about transportation. If you click on that link, it will bring you to our transportation department main page where you can find access to the forms which also includes access to our transportation form. So if you click on those, that'll bring you to the form that you fill out as a family that answers questions about what transportation will look like for your child. So this is the page that we need you to fill out as soon as possible. You also have a link here to our Home Access Center. You can also always click on this button at the top of the district website, and it'll take you right to Home Access. And this is where you will log in once you get that information. You also have a link to the child nutrition website for all of your breakfast and lunch questions, needs, menus, opportunities to put money on your child's account, all of those things. All right, and that brings us to the end of our presentation. At this time, if anyone has any questions, you can use the raise your hand feature, and I can give you access to talk, and that way you can ask your question live tonight. So feel free to do that. While we're waiting for those hands to raise, we do have a couple of questions that came in. Oh, and it's mostly people saying they couldn't see the screen share. There is one question about VLO. Do we know the number of kids who will be in a classroom versus doing VLO? Carrie, do you want to tackle that one while the hands are raising?
Certainly. We hope that we will have less than 25 students in a classroom. And as of right now, I believe our VLO numbers, I know for Liberty are 8, and that's kindergarten through 2nd grade. But I believe across the district, we have less than 40 that are enrolled K2 and interested in VLO for next year. And again, that registration is still open for people that are moving into the district.
Awesome.
Amy, that's a great question about if meals are free.
Go ahead.
What is the money used for? The money is used for snacks and other items that can be purchased at lunch. Liz alluded to a form that you can put a restriction on snacks. And as a mother of a child that used to love to eat when he was in kindergarten, actually he did half-day kindergarten, so it would have been 1st grade. I would suggest this. You can put a monetary amount, say $1.50 a day can be spent on snacks. And then that way, that kind of limits the amount of items that they can purchase.
All right, the next question is actually for Missy and Natalie. How would you like for the families at Heritage and Creekside, or I'm sorry, Heritage and Liberty for that matter, to contact you? Who would you like for them to contact?
You can contact either one of us. We are not offended at all on whoever you contact. And if it's not one that either we know the answer about, or need more information, we don't have a problem. Right now, we're right next door. So either way is fine with us. And I know Carrie and I have been having regular conversations as well. So you can reach out to any of the 3 of us and we'll make sure that we get the answer for you, regardless of who you reach out to. We won't officially really be changing roles until midsummer. So either you'll be able to still get us by email for sure.
Thank you, ladies. Carrie, how much are snacks? How do you know how much the snack costs?
The snacks range in prices, and I know we typically send home that list at the beginning of the year, but it can also be found on the child nutrition website.
Thanks, Carrie. All right, we have a question tonight from Rebecca Grady. Rebecca, you should have the ability to talk now if you unmute.
I do. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. First and foremost, thank you again for all these sessions. It's very informative, especially for myself and my husband, since we're definitely new to this. And I'm sorry, I must have missed this, but were the buses going to be operational on orientation days or when everybody is in like full session?
Buses will be available. Anytime your child needs to be at school, buses will be available. So our readiness days, the beginning of the year, they will be available then, as well as throughout the regular school year, unless your child is, changing buildings by your choice, and then you will have to provide transportation.
Oh, okay.
For those people that are doing that, they understand what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. Okay. Wonderful. No, she won't be changing school. She'll be going to Shawnee. So we were just wondering if we needed to find other means of transportation on those readiness days. But we do plan on having her take the bus for the rest of the school year, as well as on that readiness day. So great. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, we have a couple of questions that have come in on our question feed. Is there a way for parents to meet other parents and a way for the kids to get to know each other before the school year starts, Carrie?
That's the $1 million question besides all the breakfast and lunch questions. We hope to be able to have some, I don't know, for lack of a better word, mixers or popsicles on the playground or something. But again, due to COVID protocols, we don't know what those will look like yet. But we hope to have that. A great way to meet other parents, besides this year, is to be involved with the PTO or PTA of the building. And that way you get to know other families and ways to be able to link your child with other students so that they can have play dates and things like that.
Great, thanks, Carrie. And then we have another question about breakfast and lunch. So if a child wants a different lunch than the one that is the lunch of the day on the menu, is it still free, or then are they charged for lunch? And do the children get snack breaks outside of the lunch period?
Okay, I'm going to phone a friend on this one because I'm not totally sure about the Funables, if those are extra. Yes, Missy's shaking her head up and down. So if your child chooses a Funable,
They're free.
Oh, they're free. Okay,
Yeah.
so Funables are free, hamburgers are free, chicken sandwiches are free. Where we get into the extras is if they're picking items like the waters and the Capri Suns and other items other than what is on the lunch menu at this point.
Great. All right. Do we have any more questions out there?
Christine, I did see one where it was asking about headphones and it was asking if they should be wired or Bluetooth. It is so much easier for our K2 friends if they are wired. And our devices will accept either the single prong or the USB prong. And so it is so much easier because it's not an easy process to get it to the Bluetooth accessibility. And some of our devices don't have Bluetooth capability. So it needs to be a wired headset. And someone else had asked previously if those stay at school. Typically they do. Most teachers have some kind of organization where they're in a baggie or something labeled with the child's name, so that they would have access to it when they need it.
Great, thanks, Missy. And Missy, while you're talking about the headphones, can you also answer the next question of can and should parents send in water bottles for their children?
I'm gonna, again, this is gonna be a little different. Hopefully next year, this year we encouraged every child to bring a water bottle to school because we were not using and are not using drinking fountains because of some COVID restrictions. So hopefully next year, maybe our water fountains will be open, but it is okay for them to bring their own water bottles. And again, that's a family decision. A lot of times teachers will have a special place in their classroom or a certain location for each child to put their water bottles as to prevent some of that spilling during the day. And so it's not a problem for them to bring a water bottle.
Great, thanks, Missy. And Missy, while we're on the topic of bringing things to school, I'm going to send the next one your way also. Is that also true for a change of clothes? Do those stay at school, in the backpack, in the clinic?
So we encourage families, if they feel that they need to provide a change of clothing for their child, to just keep that in their backpack, and again, labeled with maybe in a baggie with the child's name in it or on a grocery bag. I know we do have some families too that maybe it's a little bit more of a regular occurrence and they have some things in the clinic. I think that's a conversation that you can have with your classroom teacher as well, once those classrooms have been determined, to see what's easiest for them. But there are times when we understand that accidents happen and they might need a change of clothes. Most of our clinics are stocked, maybe not heavily stocked, but stocked with some different sizes and items too that they can give to children if there's an accident. So that's a kind of your choice of how you want to handle that. And again, in the backpack, or have a conversation with the teacher for what best suits their organization.
Great, thanks, Missy. All right, that brings us to the end of our current questions. If you do still have a question, feel free to either raise your hand or you can type it into the question and answer feature on your Zoom screen. In the meantime, we are really grateful that you attended tonight. We hope that you found this really informative, and that between watching the other 3 sessions and tonight, you feel prepared to send your kindergartner to school on those first Kindergarten Readiness Days. So you can look for more information coming your way this summer. In the meantime, if you have any questions, you can contact me if you would like. My information is here on the screen, or you can direct it to your child's building principal. They would be happy to answer your questions as well. And we are going to hang on the line here to answer any more questions that come in. I do see a couple of hands raised and a couple of questions in our feed. So we're going to jump back over to that for now. If your questions are answered and you're good and you're feeling confident and ready for those first days, feel free to log off of the presentation now or hang on to listen to the incoming answers. All right, we have a question coming from Austin. Austin, you should be able to unmute and ask your question.
Can you hear me?
We sure can.
Okay, sorry. Austin is my child's name. So my question is, my kid didn't get enrolled into kindergarten last year because based on his date of birth, his date of birth is August 16. And he did try to face that challenge exam and didn't get a good result. That's why he's still not enrolled into kindergarten. But I instructed him personally at home, and I feel like he's comfortable to maybe face challenge exam for the first grade. What steps would I need to take for him to face that exam, for school administration to verify whether he's able to attend first grade or kindergarten?
That's a great question, Austin. So if you look on our district website, there is information there about early entrance into kindergarten, and there's a contact there for a person named Lauren Webb. You can contact her directly for that testing, and her email is lauren.webb with 2 B's at lakotaonline.com. You can also email me directly if you want to talk more about this further, and I'd be happy to walk you through those steps.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for your question. All right. Carrie, can you answer the question? Does my child need their own tablet or laptop for school?
They do not. We have iPads and Chromebooks available at school that we will be using when your child needs a device at school.
Thanks, Carrie. All right, we'll hang on and wait for a couple more questions if anybody else has questions. Otherwise, we appreciate you joining us tonight, and we look forward to the fall with your kindergartner. All right, we have a question now from Melisha. Melisha, you should be able to unmute and go ahead and ask your question.
Hey, I asked, hi guys, thank you for everything you've been doing. It's very helpful for us. I just had a question, since we know our kid could during snack time purchase extra snacks and stuff like that. I want him to be able to do it and have that option, if his friends do it, but also want to know what kind of things he's purchasing, and if we need to limit and let him know that it's not okay to do this, purchase all these items. Is there a way we could know what he's been purchasing at any time, I don't know, a statement, I guess, to see what he purchases?
Yes, when you go into Easy Pay, after you put money into his account there in Easy Pay, you're able to go in and see somewhat exactly what was purchased. So you would be able to see on February 15th if your child purchased 3 ice cream bars or whatever. So you are able to kind of track where the money is being spent.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, and we have, oh, that's it. Okay. Carrie, is Easy Pay shared between siblings?
Now, I only had one in Lakota, but it is not. It is based on their ID number. So each child would have an individual account. So that way, one sibling's not buying all the snacks and then the other one doesn't have any money.
That's right. And when you go on to Easy Pay, you do have the option to add money to both accounts at the same time. So you can toggle between all of your children on the Easy Pay account. They just can't share money distributed between them. All right, that is the last of our current questions. We'll hang on here a few more minutes in case we have any last minute questions. All right, we appreciate all of you joining us tonight. That concludes our session with our building principals. We appreciate all of our building principals joining us and filling us in with that last minute information and answering all of our questions. At this point in time, if you have further questions, you can email me directly or you can email your child's building principal. We hope you have a wonderful night and we're looking forward to meeting your family and your kindergartner in the fall.